How's it going? Alright, I'm out to my thinking spot, my shooting area, because I was thinking about a topic I've discussed many times before. That is a big tree that just fell. It's been windy today. Anyways, 44 Magnum. 44 Magnum. For self-defense, for home defense, for concealed carry, for whatever you want. It's the 44 Magnum, a viable option. And here's some 44 Magnum rounds. Pretty big rounds. Hollow point and a soft point, semi-jocketed soft point. There's a little history on the 44 Magnum. It came out in about the mid-50s. It was another creation by Elmer Keith. He created the 357 Magnum. Pretty much what they did is they took one of these 44 specials here. It's almost the same size. And they kept packing it with more and more powder until they had something that was super powerful. I'm not sure the guns they used, they were probably using old cowboy guns and whatnot. So they needed something that was going to be a better fit for the 44 Magnum cartridge once they created it. So he worked together with Smith & Wesson, some story like that, and they created the 44 Magnum, the Smith & Wesson Model 29. And that movie, Dirty Harry, made it famous. Real famous. 1971, I believe, Dirty Harry came out, and then after that, the 44 Magnum exploded with sales. One random fact about that movie, though, is that the directors of the movie and Clint Eastwood, all of them, they tried to get the 4-inch Model 29 because it did exist, and most cops carried a 4-inch barrel revolver. So they were trying to get a 4-inch 44 Magnum to look a little bit closer to the rest of the police guns. They couldn't get one. Smith & Wesson didn't have any. They tried to get it to them, and even for a movie production, they couldn't get their hands on a 4-inch barrel 44 Magnum. So they ended up sending a 6.5-inch barrel for the movie. And normally that would look ridiculous, but Clint Eastwood's 6'4", and he's a well-built man, so when he had that 6.5-inch gun in his hand, it almost looked right. It pretty much looked the same as a revolver in your average cop's hand. You know, they're 5'8", 5'10" on average. He's 6'4", and he's about this wide, so a 6.5-inch barreled 44 Magnum Model 29 didn't look so bad. Anyways, back on to the point of this. A lot of people say the 44 Magnum is terrible for home defense, for self-defense, for concealed carry. Personally, I think they get some of that information from watching the movies, especially like Dirty Harry. He would grip it like this and boom, it would recoil like this. In reality, it's not like that. But the thing to remember is that the 44 Magnum is not a very, how do I say this? The tolerances of it are very wide. Like you take a 9mm, okay, its energy levels are typically between 300 and 400 foot-pounds of energy. 45 auto, typically about the same thing. A lot of cartridges, typically they're within a small window of energy levels. 357 Magnum, typically between 500 and 600. There's a very little window. Now 44 Magnum, even with basic SAMI specs, Sporting Arms Institute, there's a wide variety of power levels. You can be within normal SAMI specs, not plus P, and have 700 foot-pounds of energy, or maybe even 650 foot-pounds of energy. And within those same specs, without going to the plus P, you can get up to 1,000 foot-pounds of energy. A difference of 300, 350 foot-pounds of energy difference. So when people say the 44 Magnum is terrible for self-defense, that's one thing they're not taking into account. They're not taking into account which 44 Magnum round are you talking about. And the other very important thing that they're not taking into consideration is that the size of the gun plays a big part. Like you could get a 20 some odd ounce ultralight 44 mag. I think they made, Smith & Wesson made something like that. Don't know its weight, but I think it was somewhere maybe around 30 ounces. You compare that to a Ruger Red Hawk or whatever it is, the Super Red Hawk. It's a 44 Magnum. That thing weighs 50 ounces and some odd ounce. So you're talking, you're just about cutting the recoil in half just by having a different gun. And then you switch to a lighter round, you got something that's totally different than that. And the biggest thing about people saying, well, 44 Magnum, you should never get that kind of revolver for self-defense. It's like they don't even remind to tell you that a 44 Special will shoot in that 44 Magnum. Same as a 38 Special will shoot in a 357 Magnum revolver. So what you've got is you've got a revolver, a 44 Magnum. They'll go anywhere from maybe 300 foot-pounds of energy with a light 44 Special, all the way up to like 1,600 foot-pounds of energy with a plus P plus specialty round. So that's a big, that's a lot of variety you have with one gun. And I can't think of really any other guns that have that much variety. I mean, the 454 Casull and the 460 Magnum, yeah, that also has a lot of variety because you can go down to the 45 Colt. But the 44 Magnum, I think, is a little bit more reasonable to have a lot more self-defense choices and something that's really large for hunting. Because 1,600 foot-pounds of energy, that's matching a 454. Down to a 44 Special, on average, it's matching about a 45 automatic as far as power. So you have a lot of variety to choose from with the ammunition. Now here's the 240 grain. This is your classic low-end Magnum. It's a 240 grain, semi-jacketed soft point. Traveling about 1,200 feet per second. That's straight up classic. That's about it. Your average low-end 44 Magnum. Something like this. I believe this is a 180 grain, and I think it's 1,500 feet per second, about 900 foot-pounds of energy. That's your warm average, but that's within average range. Now, if I were I just shoot this in a light scandium alloy 44 Magnum, would I want to shoot this and think that's a good self-defense gun? No. This, well, it's better. If you go up to a heavy revolver like a Model 29 or 629 with a 4 to 6 inch barrel, 45 ounce gun, is that good? Yeah, that's not bad. Now you're going to get over penetration. That's a given. It's not a hollow point. Hollow point will slow that down a little bit more and not give you as much penetration. But penetration, over penetration is not something that I'm concerned about because I live in a not urban area, as you can see. And the kid's bedroom is basically at the back of the house, so I know which way I'm shooting if I were to use the 44 Magnum. But for other people who live in the city or they live in an apartment, sure, I can understand that. I can understand why over-penetration might be a concern for you because you might shoot your neighbor. You're going to be in more trouble with an accidental shooting through a wall. If you miss somebody, you miss your bad guy, you're going to be in more trouble with that than what you would have been with to begin with. So the other big thing is recoil. People say recoil. Well, it's too much recoil. Well, I've shot this a lot in your average 44 Magnum revolver, and recoil's probably like this if I can simulate it. Let me pull out my 38 just to try to simulate it. It'd be something like this. Boom. Back down on target. Probably about 3/4 of a second to get that back down on target. I think a lot of people have this idea that to have a good self-defense gun, you need to fire it this fast. Boom, 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 boom. That's not. I think that 3/4 of a second to get back on target is just fine with a Magnum. Boom, back on target. Boom, back on target. Boom. I mean, what do you intend to shoot where you need like 17 rounds that fast to empty them in about 2 seconds? You know. So to me, the recoil issue isn't a big deal. They talk about blast, muzzle blast in a dark area. Well, sure, but I can't see why it would be any worse than a 357 Magnum. I don't know though. I don't know. If you have a good flashlight, that shouldn't be a concern either. And the other thing is, people talk about hearing loss. They don't want to shoot something like this because they might lose their hearing. Well, I think any cartridge you fire inside a house is going to be pretty darn loud. But I can honestly say I don't spend my time losing sleep over whether I'm going to lose hearing if I have to fire my gun in my house for self-defense. Okay, you buy a 44 Magnum revolver. What are the chances you're going to use it on the range? 100%. What are the chances you're going to hunt with it? Maybe 80%. What are the chances that you're ever going to have to use that gun for self-defense? Probably 1 in 1 million that you're ever going to have to fire that gun for self-defense. So if you want to go out and get a 44 Magnum revolver and double it as your home defense gun, why wouldn't you? Especially with 44 Specials. 44 Special has no more recoil, blast, energy, deafening power than a 45 auto. The gun's a little big for concealed carry, yeah, but you could do it with a 4-inch barrel. But really, honestly, what's the difference between that and a 4-inch barrel 357 Magnum revolver? Probably not much different. Sure, you're not going to get a 44 Magnum snub that's going to be any small enough to really conceal. But the 357 Magnum snubs that you can conceal, do you really want to shoot that either? I mean, so I think the 44 Magnum is a very, very viable option for home defense. Concealed carry, not so much, but not because of the blast, the recoil, or the power over penetration. Just because the guns are a little beefier and it would be hard to conceal carry something like that. But people do it all the time though. They get a 4-inch barrel one and they do wintertime carry where they cover it with a coat. I see no problem with that. Someone that's going to do that is going to be smart. They're going to know their ballistics. They're going to know the rounds you can use. They're not going to be some geek off the street, no pun intended with Warren G there, and they're not going to come out and be like, you know, their vast knowledge of ammunition on 44 Magnum is going to be the box they looked at one time at the sporting goods store. Whoa, 700-800 foot-pounds of energy, that's over penetrating. 240 grain, that must be all 44 Magnum comes in. They don't know what they're talking about. 44 Magnum comes in a lot of variety. If I was going to carry a Magnum, I'd definitely do the 180. And then we got this critical defense here, 165 grain special. I'd carry that. I'd carry that any day of the week. But if I was actually going to carry something a little bit heavier, I would do a 180 grain Magnum myself. Hollow point, you're not going to get as much penetration as the 240 grain. You know, soft point, all that, that's out of, I ain't going to do that. I do a hollow point though, 180 grain. Or they do make, sometimes you can get specialty made Magnums that's kind of in between the power of a 44 Special and a 44 Magnum. Or if you can load yourself to that power level. I know there's a whole issue on should you use hand loads for self-defense, should you not? Well, there goes again the 1 in a million. Are you ever going to use it? And if you did, who would know? That's kind of who's going to look at a well-made round and bullet and cartridge and be like, I think that was hand loaded. Hey, if I was going to hand load ammunition and I was worried about where it came from, I'd hand load it and forget where I got it. You know, got it. I don't know where I got it. So, anyways. And even Dirty Harry said in one of his movies, what kind of load do you use in there? And I know this is debated about the movie. I think it was the second movie, Magnum Force. He said, light specials. That could mean light 44 specials he used in that gun. Or it could have meant he had a special load of 44 Magnum that was loaded lightly. I don't know. But there's my take on 44 Magnum as a self-defense cartridge. I think it's viable. I think if you have the right knowledge and you pick the right load and you pick the right gun, you can get away with having something that's going to be very useful in a variety of situations. I would say probably though the 4 to the 6-inch barrel, something like that's going to be perfect for a lot of things. You get a 6-inch barrel, you're going to hunt with it. You can hunt with it pretty well. You can still use it for home defense. Concealed carry, might be a little difficult. 4-inch barrel, concealed carry if you wanted to. Home defense, sure. And then hunting, you know. So that's my take on it. I think it's a great cartridge. I see no qualms about using it for soft defense, and neither should you. I mean, especially because of the 44 Special option. So that's my take on that cartridge. I wanted to share that. I wanted to get that off my chest because it's something that bothers me all the time when people, they don't have much knowledge about these cartridges and they're like, you shouldn't use it. Well, yeah, sure you should. So there's my opinion. So thanks for watching.